Welcome to World Epic History. Today, we step beyond the glittering walls of Constantinople to uncover the hidden world of Byzantine politics. Behind marble halls and golden mosaics, emperors and courtiers wove webs of alliances that shaped empires, swayed kings, and outlasted armies. The Byzantine Empire was not only defended by its mighty walls, it survived through whispers, marriages, bribes, and secret pacts that turned enemies into allies. Join us as we reveal the unseen battlefield where diplomacy was sharper than steel, and the fate of nations was decided not by swords, but by shadows. This is the story of Byzantium's hidden alliances. Welcome to the city that once stood as the crossroads of empires, Constantinople, heart of the Byzantine Empire. Behind its mighty walls lay more than markets, churches, and palaces. There were also secrets, hidden alliances, whispered promises, and political games that shaped the course of medieval history. The Byzantine Empire guarded its survival not only with armies and stone fortifications, but also with diplomacy, intrigue, and shadowy agreements made in candlelit chambers. To understand the empire's longevity, we must step behind the facade of its glittering mosaics and golden domes into the hidden history Byzantine politics carefully concealed. This was not just an empire of faith and grandeur, it was an empire of deals and survival. The true strength of Constantinople lay in what the world could not see, its web of political maneuvers, carefully woven behind closed doors. The Byzantine Empire's survival often depended on its mastery of diplomacy. When armies threatened its gates, emperors did not always turn to steel. They turned to words, gold, and secret promises. Constantinople politics operated like a chessboard, where foreign kings and tribal leaders became pawns, knights, and queens in Byzantine strategy. The empire negotiated with Persians, Bulgarians, Arabs, and even steppe nomads, playing one power against another. It was said that Byzantine officials could outwit any opponent with ink and parchment long before swords ever clashed. These Byzantine Empire secrets allowed Constantinople to endure when others crumbled. The grandeur of Hagia Sophia and the might of Theodosian walls were matched only by the cunning politics that kept the empire alive. Every alliance carried risk, but each also bought time that was more precious than gold in the empire's struggle for survival. Within Constantinople, politics thrived not only in the throne room, but also in the whispers of courtiers, eunuchs, and generals. These hidden figures often held the empire's fate in their hands. Behind the curtain, Byzantine court intrigue decided who would rise and who would fall. A nod of approval, a forged letter, or a poisoned cup could shift the balance of power overnight. Emperors, though mighty in appearance, relied on networks of informants and silent enforcers to keep their rule secure. The Byzantine Empire secrets included not only foreign alliances, but also inner circles of shadowy politics. Constantinople was a theater where loyalty could vanish with a bribe and betrayal could be masked as devotion. Behind its marble halls, the empire survived through fear, intelligence, and manipulation, an endless play where survival mattered more than honor. Foreign emissaries arriving in Constantinople were dazzled by ceremonies designed to overwhelm and impress. Yet behind the glittering pageantry of Byzantine reception lay another reality: negotiations, whispered in private, deals sealed away from public eyes. The Byzantine court mastered the art of spectacle, showing foreign rulers the empire's strength while concealing its fragility. Hidden history Byzantine sources reveal that banquets, golden thrones, and mechanical marvels like roaring bronze lions distracted guests, while secret terms were drafted in shadowed chambers. Constantinople politics thrived on this duality: grandeur in public, bargains in secret. To foreign eyes, the emperor shone as God's representative on earth. Yet behind closed doors, he was a broker of compromises, carefully balancing survival with prestige. In Byzantium, illusion was as vital as truth, and politics flourished in the space between. One of the most important Byzantine strategies was the marriage alliance. Daughters of emperors were not merely brides, they were tools of diplomacy. A princess of Constantinople could bind a treaty more securely than any chain of iron. Byzantine Empire secrets included careful selection of these unions. A princess might be sent to marry a barbarian king, securing his loyalty, or offered to a foreign prince, ensuring peace. These marriages spread Byzantine influence far beyond its borders, carrying culture, religion, and politics into distant lands. Yet behind the celebration of these unions often lurked tragedy, as young women became pawns in imperial games. Constantinople politics demanded sacrifice, and even royal blood was currency in this dangerous world of hidden history. In Byzantium, every wedding was both a celebration and a negotiation. Gold was the empire's silent weapon. More than spears or catapults, Byzantine coinage bought loyalty, bribed enemies, and silenced potential invaders. Constantinople politics ran on rivers of gold flowing through its treasury. Ambassadors carried purses heavy with coins, paying barbarian chiefs to turn back their armies or convincing foreign generals to abandon sieges. Hidden history, Byzantine records tell us that many victories were won not on battlefields, but in counting rooms, where gold spoke louder than swords. This strategy preserved the empire when armies were stretched thin. It was cheaper to buy peace than to wage war. Yet every coin spent bound the empire into another invisible alliance, creating debts of loyalty and expectation that could never fully be repaid. Gold sustained Constantinople, but it also chained it to a world of endless bargains. The empire's enemies often underestimated the Byzantine gift of manipulation. Emperors mastered the tactic of divide and rule, setting barbarian tribes against one another. If a horde threatened the frontier, Byzantine envoys would secretly encourage rival clans to strike them from behind. Constantinople politics turned enemies into unwitting allies, bleeding each other while the empire watched from its walls. Hidden history Byzantine chronicles reveal that whole wars were averted by sowing discord across borders. Where Rome had relied on legions, Byzantium relied on cunning. By breaking coalitions and spreading mistrust, the empire preserved its strength. Few realized that the true battlefield was not the plains of Thrace or the deserts of Syria. It was the minds of kings, manipulated by Byzantine whispers. In this silent war, words became deadlier than steel. Religion became another powerful tool of Byzantine diplomacy. Constantinople politics often intertwined faith with power, presenting the empire as the guardian of true Christianity. When dealing with Slavic tribes or distant rulers, missionaries traveled alongside diplomats, spreading Byzantine liturgy and culture. Conversion created not only spiritual bonds, but also political ties, binding new allies to the empire. Hidden history Byzantine sources reveal that baptism sometimes sealed alliances more firmly than signatures. By linking faith to loyalty, Byzantium expanded its influence far beyond its borders. The empire's priests were as vital as its generals, carrying crosses where swords could not go. This subtle mixture of belief and politics turned religion into a weapon as effective as gold, creating invisible alliances sanctified by the church's blessing. Behind the marble halls of the great palace, imperial councils plotted strategies hidden from public view. Here, eunuchs, generals, and scholars advised the emperor in meetings that shaped the fate of nations. Constantinople politics depended heavily on these private councils, where decisions about war, marriage, and alliances were made away from the eyes of the people. Hidden history Byzantine records suggest that some of the most important pacts were not even written down, only remembered by a handful of trusted men. To rule Byzantium was to manage secrets, and secrecy was its greatest defense. The empire's survival rested not only on soldiers at the frontier, but on these guarded conversations in shadowed rooms. Within these chambers, the Byzantine Empire wove its destiny. The Byzantine Empire stood as both fortress and marketplace, where traders from across the world converged. This commercial power also became a political weapon. By controlling access to the riches of silk, spices, and grain, Constantinople politics forced foreign rulers into uneasy alliances. Hidden history Byzantine documents describe how embargoes, trade privileges, or sudden restrictions could bend kings to imperial will. Trade routes were as valuable as armies, and merchants became unofficial ambassadors of the empire's interests. Byzantium's wealth was not only a source of luxury, but also a chain of influence binding friend and foe alike. To deny Constantinople's markets was to starve, and to accept them was to submit to its political designs. Commerce, therefore, became the empire's quiet but relentless diplomat. Espionage was the empire's shadow army. Constantinople politics thrived on a network of spies spread across courts from Baghdad to Venice. These agents reported on military plans, secret treaties, and the intentions of kings. Hidden history Byzantine accounts reveal that bribes and coded letters often mattered more than swords in defending the empire. Emperors depended on these secret eyes and ears to anticipate danger before it reached their walls. Sometimes, information from spies even allowed Byzantium to strike first, dismantling threats before they fully formed. Unlike Rome's legions, the Byzantine Empire fought many battles with silence, parchment, and hidden daggers of information. In this world of shadows, intelligence was survival, and secrets were the sharpest weapons of all. Marriage, bribery, religion, and espionage were not always enough. Sometimes, Byzantium forged alliances through shared enemies. Constantinople politics skillfully positioned the empire as a necessary partner. When the Crusaders first arrived, Byzantine emperors welcomed them, offering guides and supplies not from trust, but from calculation. Hidden history Byzantine documents suggest that emperors used these Western knights as tools to strike at Muslim powers while keeping their own armies safe. Such alliances were dangerous. Friendship with crusaders often turned to betrayal, as seen in 1204 when Constantinople itself fell to them. Yet for centuries, Byzantium played this double-edged game, turning foreign ambitions into temporary shields. In this realm of politics, survival outweighed loyalty, and convenience outweighed friendship. The Byzantine emperors cultivated an image of divine authority, but even this was political theater. Coronations in Hagia Sophia, drenched in incense and golden light, symbolized heaven's approval. Yet hidden history Byzantine sources reveal that behind the rituals, alliances determined who truly wore the crown. Generals, nobles, and foreign rulers often influenced the throne as much as the patriarch's blessing. Constantinople politics transformed religion into spectacle, reinforcing imperial legitimacy while masking deals struck in private. A golden crown could rest on a head secured not by divine right, but by a coalition of allies. Byzantium understood that appearances mattered, that people saw God's chosen ruler, while behind the curtain, politics decided everything. It was power cloaked in holiness, survival disguised as sanctity. Constantinople's position, at the crossroads of East and West, meant that it constantly navigated between empires. Byzantine diplomacy was a balancing act appeasing the Persians one year, the Bulgarians the next, and later the rising power of the Ottomans. Hidden history Byzantine texts show how treaties were crafted with shifting clauses, always leaving room for renegotiation. The empire survived because it rarely committed fully to one side, instead weaving a web of partial promises. Constantinople politics required flexibility, deception, and endurance. Byzantium's alliances were rarely eternal. They were temporary shields against storms, meant to be discarded when safer harbors appeared. This dance of survival defined Byzantine statecraft, keeping the empire afloat in seas of hostility. Even within its own walls, Constantinople politics were never stable. Factions such as the Blues and Greens, nominally chariot racing teams, often acted as political parties. Hidden history Byzantine accounts recall how emperors courted these groups, using them to secure power or crush rivals. Riots could shake the city, toppling rulers when the balance of favor shifted. The Nika riots of 532 proved that alliances with these factions were as crucial as treaties with foreign kings. Byzantine Empire secrets lay not only in diplomacy abroad, but also in managing unrest at home. To rule Constantinople, emperors had to master both the crowds in the hippodrome and the whispers in the palace. Survival required juggling loyalty from street mobs as much as noble courts. Foreign mercenaries formed another layer of Byzantine survival. The empire often hired warriors from distant lands, the Varangian Guard being the most famous. These fierce northern soldiers, sworn to loyalty, acted as the emperor's personal protectors. Hidden history Byzantine records reveal that their presence was also political. By employing outsiders, emperors reduced reliance on local factions and secured protection from ambitious generals. Constantinople politics thus turned mercenaries into a shield against both foreign invasion and internal betrayal. Gold bound them more tightly than blood, and their loyalty to pay rather than politics made them invaluable. The Varangians stood as living proof of Byzantium's strategy. When alliances at home or abroad faltered, the empire always found another way to survive. Diplomatic marriages, bribery, mercenaries, religion, spies, all these tools formed the machinery of Byzantine survival. But each alliance carried danger. Hidden history Byzantine accounts show that promises often backfired, with former allies becoming foes. Crusaders, Persians, Bulgarians, and even fellow Christians betrayed Constantinople when opportunity arose. Constantinople politics walked a tightrope, balancing between betrayal and necessity. Every handshake risked a knife in the back. Yet the empire endured for over 1,000 years, not through brute strength alone, but through its ability to adapt. Byzantium mastered the art of calculated risk, knowing that even fragile alliances could buy precious time. In this dangerous game, survival was not about winning outright, but about outlasting everyone else. The Byzantines saw politics as warfare by other means. Hidden history. Byzantine writings describe diplomacy as bloodless battle. Constantinople politics were never straightforward. Each message, gift, or envoy carried layers of meaning. To outsiders, the Byzantine court seemed endlessly complex, even deceitful. But within the empire, this was considered wisdom. The Byzantines believed survival depended on subtlety, not brute force. Alliances were seen as temporary tools, never eternal bonds. This philosophy allowed the empire to bend without breaking, to compromise without surrendering. Where others saw weakness, Byzantium saw strategy. In its long history, this approach preserved the city against countless sieges and invasions. Behind its walls, politics remained the sharpest weapon. Yet even the most careful web of alliances could not last forever. By the 15th century, the empire's resources dwindled, and its political tricks grew desperate. Hidden history Byzantine chronicles describe frantic pleas for aid from the West, desperate bargains with the Ottomans, and promises made that could never be kept. Constantinople politics had once manipulated kings and caliphs, but now the empire found itself cornered. All eyes turned indifferent, enemies grew relentless, and the once great city stood isolated. The Byzantine Empire secrets that had ensured survival for centuries could no longer hold back the tide. The final fall in 1453 was not just the collapse of walls, but of centuries of fragile alliances breaking all at once. Thus ended the Byzantine Empire, not only with cannons breaching its walls, but with the unraveling of politics behind them. For centuries, Constantinople politics had woven a fragile fabric of survival marriages, bribes, spies, treaties, and illusions. Hidden history Byzantine secrets reveal that this empire endured longer than Rome itself, not because of invincible armies, but because of its mastery of alliances, both seen and unseen. Though the city fell in 1453, its legacy lives on in the lessons of diplomacy, intrigue, and resilience. Byzantium reminds us that power is not always measured by the sword, but by the art of survival. Behind the golden domes and towering walls, the true empire was built on politics, hidden yet enduring, echoing through history as the empire that survived by secrets.